There we
So Amanda,
go.
nice to see you again. Thank you for joining me once more.
Nice to see you too, Adrian.
I appreciate that. I was hoping today we could have a little more of a talk about DMSO. Not too deep, because you've done some amazing work on your website, but could you give a brief summary to people of what DMSO is, please?
Okay, so DMSO 101, it's an extract. It's an extract from trees, specifically the lignin. And we could do it by, like, we could cut down a pine tree and we could chop it up and put it, soften it, and then we could distill that. And that particular liquid has to be purified, because when you do extractions, you have to grab one thing with another thing, right? It's really just chemistry, but ultimately we get it from the pulp and paper industry because it's a runoff from them. It's a waste product for them. And a lot of people really get turned off by that thought, because of course the pulp and paper industry is a dirty industry, but don't blame the result, of that, because we're actually saving a lot out of that system that would just probably go into wastewater and be wasted. So we're just going to take it where we can get it. But for the most part, it doesn't have to come from that industry. So I wanted to touch on that because people get really triggered about the sources. So there's a product called white liquor, and that's what grabs it and takes it out of the lignin. Then you get pulp and this extract. And then we just wash the white liquor away. And that's the purification stage. And that's what all these companies are doing. And then they sell it in different levels of refined purification. So you really want to get a higher grade purification. If you're going to use it for internal use, you're going to use it for topical use. And there's also animal grade, which is a little less refined. It sort of started off, in the 70s being a big deal. And it was used for pain and sports medicine and also veterinary medicine. And that's sort of where it kind of stayed for a while. And it was shunned, and FDA banned it, and there was a whole drama about it, because it is so useful and so valuable that it competes with pharmaceutical drugs.
And it can't be patented, can it?
Pardon? Can't be patented? No.
Yeah.
No, it can't. But the unique products that come from it can be patented, which I always thought, well, if they were really industrious, they would do what I do. I just create blends, with the DMSO, and then there's profit. What's wrong with but the kind of profit they're talking, it's not the kind of profit I'm talking about. they want the type of profit that is ridiculous, right? It's over the top. We're just talking about we can live in a shelter and enjoy our lives and eat and buy clothes. But for them, it's a whole other thing. So that's not profitable enough for them. And it has many, many properties. I've written about it. There's too many really to name. I would say the prime properties, of course, are for pain relief. It is transdermal, which brings a lot of power, but also a lot of fear for people, which is one reason why I wrote my book, Healing with DMSO, so people would feel a bit more comfortable in using it properly. It's just like when there's a medicine, you have to understand the dose, you have to understand the applications, you have to learn about it so that you use it properly. And it's really it's not that difficult, and it's not scary. Just a little bit of education and you've got it, right? It can be used to heal tissue and strengthen tissue on the inside and the outside. So it's very anti-aging. It's very healing to any type of injury. Like people say, well, roll their ankle or break something, and the recovery time is advanced from using DMSO. Really, it just helps the inflammatory process become supported, and therefore it doesn't need the longer, slower way of healing. It doesn't need all those inflammatory mediators when DMSO is allowing the influx and outflux of the waste can go out easily, and the nutrition can come in easier because of the transdermal nature internally, rather than having the inflammatory process where you'll get swelling, and then the swelling allows for things to come in and out, and that creates heat and discomfort and so forth. And you don't need that process if you're using sort of an alternative. And it has so many applications for major chronic diseases as well. DMSO has so many different properties that I really just suggest people look up Dr. Stanley Jacob or go to yummy.doctor and, read about it, because it's really something that everyone should have access to, should have in their medicine cabinet. And, hospitals and doctors used to use it, but we've strayed. The medical cartel doesn't want this there. And even though it should be used immediately upon a stroke, immediately upon a heart attack, because it can allow for, things that are blocked to become unblocked, that they don't use that anymore like they used to in first aid. But it has, a plethora of applications and can be used in different concentrations, can be used in every orifice. And, because of its transdermal nature, it plays nice with others. So you can blend it with other things and it will take it through into the tissue and enhance those properties. You just have to be careful, if you're on any medications, that it can enhance that medication, or it can enhance the release of that medication. And that when you're trying out something new, that you start slow and then you work up to your doses, because it also can get rid of heavy metals and other waste materials. And so, of course, if you're going to be starting a detox program, you should prepare properly for that. And it usually suggests people start magnesium loading first, cutting back on some of the lifestyle factors that they know are unhealthy, and begin cutting back on any medication before they start using DMSO.
Excellent. So I've always got some with me in my emergency kit. And when Helen had a fall when we were in Crete about 8 weeks ago now, and she broke her ankle. We didn't know she'd broken her ankle at the time, but the very first protocol was that, and then some comfrey and some CBD and loads of magnesium, and we kept applying that, which worked really well. I'm curious, you've been using DMSO for a lot longer than I have. What are some of the more unexpected things you've seen it used for?
Unexpected?
That's probably not the right question for you because you've seen most of it.
Yeah.
Maybe some more unusual, like anything spring to mind?
Well, I would say, I speak a lot about the false germ theory, and I think it's really important to understand that the way we think about our bodies has been inverted, right? And so a lot of people, for example, think that shingles is a virus, right? And that is not the case. And what we see is that a lot of what's going on with these expressions are debris, and usually heavy metals, could be microplastics and other such things that get lodged come in through the cerebral spinal fluid, then get lodged into the nerve bulbs. And then when there's a moment the body thinks it can get rid of it, it will express through the skin. You see this often post-vaccination because, well, it's poison, and also it creates the need for the body to get rid of those products, right? And I've had many testimonials and many people telling me how it not only resolved their current expression, but it healed it completely where it never returned. Because what happens in those scenarios is the body's trying to get rid of the waste through the skin, which, of course, this is nerve, and imagine something that is, shouldn't go through the nerve and through the skin is very painful process. So we can treat post-herpetic neuralgia, but what I'm trying to say here is that the expressions usually last a long time, very painful, and it's a terrible, thing to go through. DMSO applied actually made a specific compound for this. It's got vitamins and nutrients with it. Applying that onto the area and allowing it to complete, right, to finish the drainage process, then heal without scar and prevent the sequelae from that, is one of those things that a lot of people, I don't think they understand the power of it. And that, because that's like a major, especially in the elderly, that's a major concern. And anything to do with shingles, herpes, any of those are not viruses, and they all can be completely resolved using DMSO because it completes the cleansing process, and so it stops that whole cycle. So I think that's a very powerful application for DMSO, and then the understanding that comes with it that it's just killing a virus or whatever. Like I was watching this show. Sometimes I watch this show that it's a medical examiner show. And they do autopsies. I know it's kind of gross. I'm like eating a sandwich, watching like an autopsy show, but when you go through medical school, that kind of, you get used to that stuff. So anyway, I was watching the show, and I've got this insight now on how we get these stats, because she said that when the medical examiner, gives the information of how the death occurred, that's what goes into the statistics. And so there were a few cases where she said it was caused by a virus or it was caused by a bacteria, and because she found it there, right? And what I find fascinating is that they never go and look for why the bacteria or the so-called virus, which is just a waste particle of cell debris and death, why they wouldn't go further and do a full tox screen on the tissue itself, looking for heavy metals, microplastics, glyphosate, any of the numerous toxins and poisons, thousands and thousands that are out there, why they wouldn't do even DDT, whatever, all of those things. Why wouldn't they? You know what I'm saying? Because they don't. So this is the skew. They assume that's the cause, that the bacteria is the cause of the disease and not the result of the disease process. So there was an episode where there was lung necrosis that went to the heart, and they said, oh, it's because the virus spread, right? And this is how they get the statistics, and this is how we get false information. And if that medical examiner was actually educated properly in science and knew that that wasn't the cause, it was the result of an underlying process, then they would actually make proper, distinguished diagnoses that would be actually truthful. And this is how we continue with the lie, right? And of course, she's not going to go looking for those things of the real cause. Or you'd see a story where somebody got something very traumatic happened. One guy lost his house in a fire, and then his wife divorced him, or something like seriously upsetting to life. And then they have a heart attack, or they have heart necrosis, and they blame it on a bacteria or bacterial infection, right? And they don't think about, oh, that person went through a trauma, their cortisol is probably totally dysregulated. I'm sure they're already running on high adrenaline, their heart rate's gone up, and their blood pressure on, et cetera, right? That could cause damage to the tissue, and then the tissue damage, not getting nutrition from the lifestyle, because a lot of these people were very obese, that is contributing to the death of said tissue. And then to go and blame it on the bug that's just there to do the cleanup is really obtuse. And a lot of people watch this kind of content, and I yell at the TV when I watch this stuff, because I'm like, damn you! But here we are, right? We're correcting the record. So I just think that the understanding of how we get sick, what is happening when we're clearing and rebalancing, is really key to proper administration of powerful remedies like dimethyl sulfoxide.
Sure. Brilliant. Okay. One of the things I've noticed is an increasing, or maybe it's because I'm looking for an increasing amount of kind of skewed information about DMSO to try and say it's poison, it's this, it's that, and the other. You did an amazing video. I can't remember the name of it, but I think it was 45 myths about DMSO debunked. Was that the title?
Yeah, I did a document on that. I did a whole webinar on that. Yeah.
Yeah. What I'll do is I'll put a link in the description of this to that, because I thought that was really very good.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of it, and I could go on really.
All right.
But there we are. Yeah. we're in the upside down. So.
Yeah, we are. And I think just a quick final question is, for anyone who's a little skeptical or uncertain about DMSO, where would you suggest they go? I presume your website, and I can put a link to that if that's the place you think they should go to.
Yeah, I mean, the book that I wrote about it is really all you need. I've had so many people tell me, thank you for your book, because I read it. It's easy to read. It's in layman's terms. It's not complicated. It's short enough that I feel confident, where by the end, I feel like I've done something here, and that now I feel with the recipes and protocols, I know how to move forward with a little more certainty, and it takes the fear factor out of it. It's just knowledge, really.
I wish I'd found that book when I was starting to look into this years ago.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, were kind of floating around, not sure about it. But I feel the modern attack on DMSO is, kind of even more targeted and really ignorant and kind of, I was surprised. I really thought we were coming into an awakening of these things, but what I've also noticed is the truth community has been very infiltrated. And have you noticed how that what's slowly happened where people have accepted drugs now as saviors, even in the truth community, like methylene blue and ivermectin and fenben and low dose naltrexone and all this absolute pharmaceutical suppressive garbage, okay, and have attacked supplements and attacking vitamin D and attacking the things that have saved so many people's lives in ignorance. And they don't even see the inversion, how they've been manipulated to hate supplements, judge supplements, and love the drugs. And even that's just because it's a lesser amount, it's better somehow. Like
it's just a bit,
just a little bit of poison, you know.
That's right.
But it's the mechanisms that are really inverted because, again, you can get magic show from true suppression, right? You can come in and you can have somebody who has hypertension, which is an issue longstanding because because the whole entire picture of the body is obviously not in health and is struggling. But then you have somebody synthetically lowering just that and not looking at any other lifestyle factors, and on paper they'll look excellent. And but it doesn't address any root cause whatsoever. But you can make up a statistic this way and make it look like it's life-saving, right? But it's just really a biding of one's time, and it's a ticking time bomb for these drugs. And the same thing with, people are claiming that their cancers are cured with ivermectin, but nobody's going, did they first of all really have cancer? Because a lot of diagnoses are false, like over 50% of them are false diagnoses. Where's their placebo effect on that one? Because I tell you, it's like a cult. Like, oh, it's the best thing forever. I mean, I have had patients and clients who have been using this stuff and they are very dire sick on their deathbeds. And I'm like, what did you do? You wiped out your flora with this stuff. Like I had one individual who cannot get their hemoglobin up. And when I looked at the history and the amount of ivermectin that was being taken, I said, stop that crap immediately. And that's like fix your microbiome, which is a mess. And I actually put her on the Brown's gas hydrogen machine. She was just skinny as a rail. And she was doing it more like prevention than anything else. And she was making herself very sick. And people aren't putting that together. And so all you're getting are skewed stories of success you can never verify. And you're not getting the stories of the people who are going downhill from taking it, right? And that's how it's like an influencer movement, and there's really no follow through on the verification of these cases. And a lot of doctors in this kind of quasi awake community pushing that stuff. But they're going to get success rates just like chemo would, right? So you could take chemo and you could get a success, right? And then you get a statistic that went away, right? Same thing you can do with any drug. You can make it go away and then you can claim success. And there's multiple ways that person can go through a healing. It had nothing to do with the drug, or they healed despite the drug, or they healed anyway from it because they're probably doing 10,000 other things plus their ivermectin. The ivermectin actually set them back, but they were able to overcome it, and you won't know those stories. And so it just looks like a miracle, and it's amazing, and off you go. And this is what we witness all the time in the truth community. How many people have attacked, fat-soluble vitamins, vitamin A, vitamin D? If you actually really look at the true statistics of these vitamins, we're talking about millions and millions of people that have been saved, like who are nutritionally deficient in like not just North American countries, like the world statistics that would have rickets. Like there are still even children today who aren't getting enough vitamin D who have literal bone deformation. Like in America, there's bone deformation. So like, you know what I'm saying? That even with sunlight, they weren't getting what they needed, and they weren't, so there's still a lot of ignorance out there.
Brilliant.